put the worm on my hook for me. I do it myself. Thank you very much. Daddy taught me to do that. Now, Daddy would have babied me and he'd have done it for me, but he taught me that I should be able to bait my own hook. Mints. They keep me going. Anyhow, let me tell you, fishing, though, it can be very relaxing. It can also be very stressful. I can't tell you the number of tree branches I've caught in my lifetime, a bunch of them. Rocks at the bottom of the creek. And yeah, I like creek fishing. Anyhow, we're going to be discussing a new kind of fishing. That is literally what the very first thing is, a new kind of fishing out of Luke chapter 5. Then we're going to talk about a miraculous catch of fish in John 21. And then taxes and a dragnet, and that's Matthew 17. And now I want you to notice something. The first one, a new kind of fishing, individually, that's feeding yourself. The second one, the miraculous catch of fish, that's in a regular net, and we'll get in that story in a minute, but that's a regular net. That would be like feeding your family. And the third one, when you're talking about a drag net, you're talking about that huge commercial size, catching every fish out there. You're feeding the whole community with that size. So in this lesson, we are talking from individual up to everybody that we can meet. And notice every one of these come out of what part of the Bible, Old or New Testament? They're all New Testament. So these are times that we're living in, guys. Our central truth today, breakthroughs come to those who follow Jesus. Our focus from Jesus' teachings involving fish, learn and apply truths about Christian discipleship. Evangelism emphasis, Jesus calls unbelievers to follow him. And our golden text comes from Matthew 4:19. And he, Jesus, saith unto them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. All right. So before we get started, let's go ahead and take up our tithes and offering. If Brother Sammy will take care of that for me. We're going to pray over the offering and over our lesson. I am so excited to get to see Miss Janie today. It has, golly, it feels like it's been a year since I've gotten to see Janie. Woo, yeah, I miss you guys when you're not here, but when you're not here for more than one time, oh, does it make my heart ache. So when you're out, you're part of the family, guys. It's like I'm missing a finger or I'm missing an arm. Okay, so understand you are very important. But Miss Janie, will you please pray over the offering and lesson, ma'am? Amen. All right. While Brother Sammy comes around and collects the offering, Sister Stephanie, it's good to see you this morning. The Bible has a lot to say about fishing. Boy, doesn't it, though. In Habakkuk, the prophet referred to three different means of catching fish. One, a hook. That's individual, one at a time. Two, their net, about 15 feet in diameter, which two men use together, catch multiple fish. And then three, the drag net, sometimes hundreds of feet long, could be operated between boats. And in this reference, Habakkuk compared God's people to fish in his complaint to the Lord, asking, why do you make men like fish of the sea? Why was God allowing the Babylonians to take up, catch, and gather the Jewish people? Well, decades earlier, the Lord had warned the rebellious, oppressive, and idolatrous leaders of Israel, the day shall come upon you that he will take you away with hooks and your posterity with fish hooks. The Old Testament, we had a whole lot of symbolism in what we're supposed to be working as today, okay? Absolutely. We have that freedom to choose. God gave us the freedom to choose, okay? So please understand, you know what? If we get out here and we choose to stay away from God, we need to realize the consequences that'll come with that. If we choose to serve God, there are consequences. You see, consequences aren't always bad. A lot of people, they hear the word consequence and they think, ooh, negative, it's bad. What's going to happen? What's the consequence? You know, there are good consequences, many of them. A consequence of me getting ready and coming to church this morning, I got to see you guys. I got to learn more of God's Word. Okay, that's a consequence too. All right? So understand it's not supposed to be or meant to be a negative thing. All right, a new kind of fishing launching into the deep from Luke chapter 5, verse number 3. And he entered into one of the ships, which was Simon's, and prayed him that he would thrust out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people out of the ship. Now, when he had left speaking, he said unto Lyman, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a draught. All right, time out right there. Let's get the picture. What was the setting here? Well, first of all, Jesus didn't have a single disciple at this point. Jesus was by himself at this point. He was teaching people, he was preaching to people. People had started following him more and more because, oh, we've got some miracles happening. We need to watch this. We need to be part of this. And people were following him. Well, it got to the point that the people, there were too many. And Jesus realized that they can't really hear me. Okay, let's look at this setting right here. First of all, I got a microphone in my hand to make sure that you can hear me. All right? Secondly, if you'll notice, I'm a foot higher off the ground than you guys. Why? You can see me better. You can hear me better. Even if I and I start talking into it, and half of you wish it'd be cut off. Yeah, I know. So I've been told before. It's okay. I know God made this one louder for a reason. After 27 years in a classroom, he designed you for your correct job, okay? This voice carries. It's called voice projection. Even Abraham Lincoln, when he would go to do a speech and the people would throng around him, you know what he would do? He would get a soapbox. How many of y'all have said or heard the phrase, don't get me on my soapbox? That is literally from history, okay? Because soap was shipped in wooden boxes, and they would put the wooden boxes, and he would step up and stand on the wooden box. Why? It helped his voice to carry. He didn't have a microphone. He didn't have the big bullhorn. He just had what God gave him, okay? So now, let's go back to Jesus. Jesus is in this crowd. The Bible doesn't say anywhere that Jesus was about 6'5", does it? No. Jesus was a normal man. Jesus wasn't made to stand out with looks and physical stuff. He wasn't. Jesus was here to be one of us. Good morning, family. So understand when he is teaching, I imagine that he's about the same height. I would put him somewhere, close to about 5'10", 5'11". That's your average male height, okay? Actually, the average is a little shorter, but that's okay. We won't go there. Anyhow, so I would put him there. Okay, how's his voice going to travel? It's not. The front row will hear him, and that's going to be about it. So Jesus looks around, and he sees these boats sitting there. And one of them happens to be Simon's boat. And he looks over at Simon. Now, let's understand. Fishing took place during the nighttime, typically, historically. Okay? So these guys had been fishing all night. Dare say they were tired. But Jesus looks at Simon. He goes, hey, listen, will you push a little bit out and let me on your boat? Well, don't you know that boat was taller than where the people were standing? And when Jesus was on the edge of that boat and that voice, it could travel. And that way people could hear him better. How many people have I got in here that's been to the beach? Okay. If you have ever sat on the side, okay, and your kids were out in the waves, and you tried to get them to hear something, could they hear you? But if they're out there in the waves and they holler something at you, didn't it come through loud and clear? The waves coming in, the wind coming in, carries those sound waves. It amplifies them. So that was a way that Jesus was amplified in speaking to where people could hear him better, okay? It's all scientific, but it's true. God made it that way, guys. We need to realize that science belongs to God, not to man. I don't care what anybody says. It belongs to God. So Jesus looks at Simon. He's like, would you mind pushing out a little bit? Now, I'm sure that Simon looked at him and said, yeah, I'm ready to go. Probably not quite. I mean, how many of us, it was hard to even get out of bed and come on church this morning, as great as it is, right? It's still hard. But Simon looked at him. He's like, yeah, get on the boat. I'll push you out a little bit. And then when Jesus was finished, in verse number 4, he told him, hey, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a draught. Well, what does that mean? He was fixing to fill that net up. Look at verse number 5. Simon answering said unto him, Master, we have toiled all the night and have taken nothing. He wanted to tell him straight up, listen, we've worked all night long. We didn't catch a thing. Not even a minnow came into our net. All right? Nevertheless, right there's your key thing. Nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down the net. What was Jesus looking for from Simon? Obedience. Right there's your key word. Obedience. Was Simon tired? Yeah, he's worn out. He'd worked all night. Was he frustrated? I'd say so. He didn't catch even a minnow. But was he obedient? And there's your key thing. He was obedient. Look what happens from his obedience. Verse number 6. And when they had done this, they enclosed a great multitude of fishes, and their net brake. So many fish that they couldn't even pull them up, broke their net. And they beckoned unto their partners, which were in the other ship, that they should come and help them. And they came and filled both ships. And look at this. They caught so many fish so that they began to sink. Verse number 8. When Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he was astonished, and all that were with him at the draught of the fishes which they had taken. He couldn't believe how many fish that they had caught. They literally caught so many fish that it started sinking their ships. Guys, that's a lot of fish. Did they outgive God? No. They'd been in that same spot all night long fishing. Hadn't caught anything. But Jesus said, well, put your nets back out there. Push on out to the deep. Let's throw that net out. I'm sure that Simon's first thought was, I do not feel like doing this. Anybody ever have that thought? Yeah. Golly, I don't feel like doing this today. Shoo! Why do I have to do this? Can't I just wait till tomorrow? Do I have any wait till tomorrow, people? I appreciate your honesty. Me and you. Oh, Mary's with me. I don't know if I believe hers though. She's a go getter. Anyhow, but yeah, I'm like, can't I do that tomorrow? Can't I do that later? Mm. And all those signs that say, why put off till tomorrow what you can do today? I hate those signs. I do. I've had so many people buy me those. Have you ever seen a round to it? Literally, it's like a piece of wood or a piece of leather, and it'll be in a shape of just round, and then on it, it'll have written to it. Because I say, I'll get around to it one of these days, and they buy me one, so maybe I'll do something. Thank goodness Simon wasn't like that. And Simon becomes, because of his obedience, not only does he become blessed, but look, he realized where the blessing came from in verse number 8. When he saw it, what did he do immediately? Fell down at Jesus' feet. We need to realize where our blessings come from. All right? I can look at each one of you and tell you that you're blessed. You're a blessed individual. You were able to get up. You were able to get dressed. You actually had clothes to get dressed. Every one of you, you're the best looking group I've seen all day. I mean, guys, just look around. God has blessed this group. We are inside of a building that God blessed us with. And He has blessed us with so many talented people. Oh, my goodness. Just think about that, guys. And just like He blesses us, He blessed Peter. And Simon Peter realized. And what does he do? Fell down at His feet saying, depart from me, I'm a sinful man. He didn't feel like he was honorable enough to be around Jesus. Have any of y'all ever felt like that? Even trying to teach this lesson, I feel about this big. I don't feel like I am worthy to teach everything He has. Only through Jesus am I worthy to do anything. All right? Because I feel like there are so many people out there that are so much better. But you know what? I'm a willing individual, and I'm going to do anything that God has me to do. May not be easy. You know, when God tells you to do stuff, it's not always easy. It's going to get you uncomfortable. Okay? You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to get nervous. You're going to be thinking, how do I get out of this? What if Simon hadn't been obedient? Do you realize that Simon Peter was the very first disciple? Look with me at verse number 10. And this comes out of Luke chapter 5. We're still in the same section. And so was also James and John, the sons of Zebedee, which were partners with Simon. And Jesus said unto Simon, fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men. And when they had brought their ships to land, they forsook all and followed him. So here we've got Peter, James, John. All three of those became disciples of Jesus. What's a disciple? A disciple is one who follows closely and learns from the example and tries to be like their mentor. Are we being like Jesus? Are we trying to learn more of Him? How do you do that? Get in His Word. How do you understand the Word? Pray. Talk to Him. Okay? Talk to God. Absolutely. Well, I have to talk to God through all of my Bible studies so I can understand what He's trying to get across to me. Okay? Oh, same verse. You can read the same verse 3, 4, 5 times and get something different out of it every single time. I do want to point out in verse number 10, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and how I want to make sure that you understand they were partners. It's not like Jesus went around and picked you and then picked you. Sometimes they were right there together and waiting. And here we have an entire crew. They're leaving what they do to follow Jesus. They are going to be disciples. They forsook all. Look at verse number 11. When they brought their ships to land, they forsook all and followed him. Are we ready to lay down everything that's holding us back? I'll never forget Preacher White preached a message years ago. And every time I looked up, he had his thumb like that. And the whole message was, you'll give everything up that you're willing to except that. What do you got underneath that thumb that you won't let go of? What's that one thing that's, you got that thumb pressed on it, you're not letting it go? His whole message, and he was as bad as Jimmy White when it came to walking. And a lot of it was right there on that pew on the top of it. He held that thumb on there. What do you got trapped underneath there that you won't let go? That hit me hard. There are a lot of us, we have something. We just won't let go. Think about what that something is, because you know what? It's time for us to what's that thing? What is holding you back? Let me tell you, God can't bless you to the extent that he wants to bless you if you have any sin in the house. What's the sin in the house? What have you allowed in? And when I say what have you allowed in, I'm talking to Stellina. All right? I might as well be looking in a mirror. What have I allowed in? What is it that I need to clean out? That's absolutely. Your spiritual affects your physical. And then your physical then affects your spiritual. And we need to realize that. If you've got some type of a physical sin inside the home, how can God bless you spiritually? How can he bless you physically? How can he bless anything that you put your hands to? Think about it. Okay? Whatever is under there, it's time to let it go. And when you do that with God, he will help you. You try to do it without God, you're going to have a rough time. All right, let's look over to John chapter 21. Verse number 4. But when the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore. But the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. Then Jesus saith unto them, Children, have ye any meat? They answered him, No. And he said unto them, Cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. Okay, this section that we're reading is after Jesus was crucified. It's after he was crucified, buried, and rose from the dead. Okay? So verse number 4, when it says, But when the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. They didn't recognize him. Why not? What do we call that body? Jesus had entered into a glorified body. Do you remember when he came out, how he told the woman to not do what? Say it again, Mary. He said, "Don't touch me." He was going through a transfiguration. Okay? We will all go through that. Why, do you think these old broken down things that we're wearing right now is going to be what we get to be in heaven? No. We're going to go through some transfiguration. And we're going to have a new glorified boy. I can't wait. Whoo, I can't wait on that one. Oh, that's going to, man, that's going to be nice. Anyhow, I usually tease people and say, you can always tell when a good Christian has passed away. It's going to rain or it's going to snow because when they get up there, they're so excited, they're so shouting, they shake it out of the clouds. Oh, yeah. I always, and now that Preacher White and my daddy are up there, both of them were super athletic when they were young, okay? And both of them loved playing baseball. And they were both very good at playing baseball. So the one thing that they liked to do was run. They wanted to run them bases. And the very thing that both of them could not do at the end, well, they could barely walk, nevertheless run. And I know very good and well, I'm going to pray and ask. I bet you there are some angels up there on construction duty to rebuild the streets of gold because my daddy and Preacher White have probably ran ruts into the thing already. So, when I get there, let's keep it on par. Anyhow, just playing around. But, we got to be real, guys. We got to be real. Anyhow, so here we have after the resurrection, Jesus, they don't even recognize who he is. And he says to them, children, have you any meat? He's like, I'm hungry. It was very, very normal for people traveling. Whoever had meat, they fed everybody. Okay? And it wasn't, you got $1, I'll feed you if you pay me. No, it was, oh, you hungry? Come on, you can eat what we have. And he asked them, do you have anything to eat? And they said, no. Verse number 6, and this is the first part of 6, not the whole thing. And he said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. All right, so after Jesus was crucified, all right, he's gone from the disciples. Don't you know those disciples probably looked around and said, well, what do we do now? We followed Jesus for the past 3 years. What are we going to do now? Now, Simon Peter, was always known to be kind of the mouthy one of the group. I dare say he was a little bit impatient. Okay? You're talking about the guy that when they got into a fight, he grabbed a sword, cut somebody's ear off, and Jesus is like, oh, don't do that. I can just see Jesus picking that ear up going, Peter, no. We'll have to put this thing back on now. Don't do that. And then you've got him running in saying, I won't deny you. And Jesus sitting there going, oh, you're going to deny me. Yeah. He was so quick to get up there and speak his mind. That's not always a bad thing if you control it the right way. You remember, who was it that preached to the 5,000? That brought in that growth after the growth of the church after Jesus ascended? That was that same Peter. Okay, so let's understand. Sometimes it pays to be a little loud. I'm banking on that. All right. So here we have Peter, and what does he do after the crucifixion? Guys, I'm going back to my job. I'm going to do what I know to do, and that's fish. That's where he felt comfortable. How many times do we return to the thing that you're comfortable with? Well, this Jesus thing ain't working out. Lord, it's difficult. It's nothing but hardships trying to be saved. I'm going to, back when I was drinking or back when I was living with like the devil, it wasn't nearly this hard. I've heard people say that before, haven't y'all? I mean, how many of us we've said it ourselves? Don't raise your hand. When I was living like a devil, it's a lot easier. Well, yeah, on this planet. Guess what's going to happen after death? Not going to be easier, okay? It's not. It's worth doing whatever it takes to stick with Jesus. So here, Peter's like, I'm going to go back to what I know. I'm going fishing. And so they went fishing, and what did they catch? According to verse number 5, they caught nothing. And then Jesus comes walking up, because think about it. Who were the first people that he walked to see? He went to see them. His disciples. Gathered in the upper room, that whole bit. Y'all remember that story? All right. And he looks at them on the way. He's thinking, well, look at there. It's kind of like back when we first met. And he says, got anything to eat? Nope. Cast on the other side. Cast on the right-hand side. Don't you know they probably sat there and said, we have been fishing all night, and you just want us to cast on the other side of the boat. Now let's look at the rest of verse 6. They cast, therefore. Oh, right there made a difference. What do we call that? Begins with an O. Obedience. They cast, therefore. And now they were not able to draw it for the multitude of fishes. They couldn't even pull the net up. Don't you know that Peter himself started having some flashbacks? I know he did, because look here. Therefore, that disciple whom Jesus loved, I love that. That's how John refers to himself. The disciple whom Jesus loved saith unto Peter, it is the Lord. Now when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he girt his fisher's coat unto him, for he was naked, and did cast himself into the sea. They didn't care if they had any clothes on or not. They were going back fishing. It was just all their guy friends hanging around. They didn't have to worry about some of the things that we do today. It was easier not to have to deal with all of that while you're out here trying to fight with a net and a fish. That's beautiful. They were trying to hide. And when he realized it was Jesus, what did he immediately do? He put something on. But I love what he did next. Have any of y'all ever watched Forrest Gump? I hate to pull Forrest Gump into this, but it's the best description that hits my mind of this. When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, cast himself into the sea. Do you remember the part when Lieutenant Dan showed up and Forrest was out on the boat? He left the boat. He just jumped in the water and started swimming because he just wanted to get to him. I imagine that with Peter. When he realized that Jesus was on the scene, oh my goodness, he didn't have time to mess with no boat. He had to get to Jesus. How many times have we left our boat just so we could get to Jesus? Maybe it's time we did. Maybe it's time we made a jump for it just so we could get to him. I'll take care of this. I think I got it. That's what happens when somebody has to fill in. All right. We just ignore that. If that side comes loose, somebody tell me so I can fix it. Pardon me. But Peter was so excited to get to see Jesus. He had to get there. He probably just wanted to go over there and kneel down again and tell him how unworthy he was. Look with verse number 10. Jesus saith unto them, bring of the fish which ye have now caught. Simon Peter went up and drew the net to land full of great fishes, 153. And for all there were so many, yet was not the net broken. I love the fact that it tells us how many. 153 fish. And it wasn't just regular fish. Look at the description. Verse number 11. Drew the net to land full of what kind of fishes? Great fishes. What was the fish described that swallowed Jonah? A great fish. I'm just going to let that soak. 153 of them. You're talking about some fish that might be big enough to swallow one of them. And they had 153 of them. 153 fish about yay big, well, I dare say I could about drag it a few feet. And they're talking about how it was a miracle that the net didn't break. So these must have been some big old fish. And they were still able to bring in 153 of them. And Jesus sat down and he was able to talk with his disciples while they ate. So they were getting their strength two ways. They were getting physically revived and spiritually. But don't you know it was a downer when Jesus was crucified? They probably thought, Lord, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? 3 years we have followed him. He has been the Son of God. We have seen the miracles. Now what are we supposed to do? We're not Jesus. We're not the Son of God. What are we going to do? Have you ever been around when a pastor left? Have you ever been part of a church when the pastor was moved to a different church? And if you've not had a pastor to come straight in, that same thing will come to your mind. What are we going to do? Where's the leader? How are we going to get through this? I know that I have some widows in here and some widowers. When that time came, I dare say that was one of the most difficult times in your life. And you probably ask yourself the question, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? Think about that. When the flood, the Hurricane Helene came through and wiped out stuff and destroyed some people, everything they had, that phrase probably hits your mind. What am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? Don't you know the disciples were experiencing that? Sure, Jesus told them, I'll rise again. They hadn't seen him yet. And then Jesus comes walking up and says, throw it out on the right side. And when that fish, those fish, came into that net and they were struggling to drag it in, John, he was like, oh my goodness. Let the flashbacks roll because, boys, Jesus is on the scene. And then Peter's like, oh, I got to get to him. Jumps off the boat, swims his way in. He wasn't waiting on somebody to row the boat. I love it. I think it's great. Have you left your boat lately? Have you jumped in the water and made a swim for it so you can see Jesus? Mary. Absolutely. Do y'all remember that story? Peter had so much faith in Jesus that he walked on water. As long as he had his eyes on Jesus, he walked on water. Sank like a stone. So understand, guys, it's okay to jump out of the boat, get a little uncomfortable, as long as you're getting to Jesus. The Christian walk is not always comfortable. The Christian walk is not always easy. The Bible never says that it is. The Bible never says, hey, it's going to be so easy, it's nothing but fun and games. It isn't. When people look at us and see what we have, it isn't always easy. Trinity, for example. Trinity has a nice new little vehicle out there. Nissan Kicks, right? Sweet little ride. Was it easy to get that? No. Did you have to go through some stuff? Oh, she had to go through a car wreck. Did it cause any damage? Yeah, it wasn't easy, was it? God brought you through it, though, didn't He? But it wasn't easy. You see, getting where you need to be in life, not always easy. And we might look at some people and say, man, they look at that. Look at them go. Boy, watch them. Shoo, they were just able to do this, that, and the other. They got all kinds of money. It goes right back. It goes right back to even my daughter when she teases me about doing dishes and vacuuming the floor. Mama, all you do is push a button. Yeah, buddy, I've got my little iRoomba trained. It has a map out of my house. How did I get to that point? Well, do you think it was easy to get that education, to get that job? No. Do you think it was easy living with all those precious little darlings for 27 years trying to teach them? No. Do you think it was easy trying to deal with their parents who wouldn't believe a word anybody said except their 8-year-old? Because we know all 8-year-olds, they don't do anything but tell the truth. No. It wasn't easy, but it got me to where I am today. Thankful, first and foremost, for my Savior. Thankful, having gratitude for everything He's given me. All the way down to the ability to read. Guys, there are people out there that can't read. And then on the other hand, there are people out there that don't have time to read. Working all the time. Going all the time. There are some people may not be able to read because of sickness. God has blessed me greatly, and I thank Him for it. Now, my daughter, she's only catching this end of the road thing, right? Yes, I like to go on a cruise every once in a while. Things are great. They feed me. The whole time I get to eat. I mean, what could be better? Eat, sleep, get up, do it again. All right. Yeah, that's my kind of vacation. And she'll look at me and say, oh, must be nice. Must be nice to have that time where you can just take off when you want to. What do you think I've been doing for these past 27 years? And actually, it's more than 27. 27 is just the working part. All the stuff I had to do beforehand to get to the job. I wasn't taking vacations, that's a fact. But see, people don't always see that difficult part. They see where you are now. Make sure that you're thankful. Make sure that you have gratitude. You wouldn't have anything that you have today if God hadn't have said, give it to Him. Okay? God has blessed us. Thank goodness you're willing to jump out of the boat and get to Jesus. I want to read this little section. It's called Following God's Call. Everybody's not going to understand where God has called you to go, but that is not an excuse for you not to go there. Then, when He puts you in certain places, it's a spiritual warfare to stay there. I love that statement. I love it. I'll never forget. Well, the first things that my mama said to me when I told her I'm going back to college, she's like, who's paying for it? That was the first. I'm like, God will make a way. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. And she's like, well, what do you want to be? I said, I'm going to be a school teacher. She went, honey, have you seen kids today? That was 30 years ago. Could you imagine if she saw the kids today? She'd be like, no, you are not going to do that. She was like, have you lost it? Have you seen the kids today? Oh, not everybody's going to understand. There was a minister that came through. I know two people remember George Wright. I got saved during one of his revivals. Thank you, Jesus. And then oh man, you talk about a meeting. Boy was having a good meeting, and I just felt very impressed. I needed to be prayed for. So I went up front. I said, I want you to pray for me. He said, what for? I said, I don't know. At this point, I was 11 years old. And he prayed, and he backed up. He said, little girl, he said, I don't know what God's got in mind for you. He said, I really don't. He said, but I want you to know that all I see everywhere are kids. He said, dozens and dozens and dozens of kids surround you. I was 11 years old. All I could think was, I am not having that many kids. Mister, I don't even have a boyfriend. I'm 11 years old. I'm not having that many kids. That's all I thought. And then I grew up, and God made me a teacher. And guess what? I've been surrounded with ever since. Dozens and dozens and dozens of kids. And God made a way. I got to see George Wright, that same minister, years later. I'd been teaching for several years, and I got to tell him, hey, guess what? God's plan for me was awesome. To where he knew that God saw it through. I mean, even Jesus said I wasn't going to have but one kid. She was enough for, I guess, dozens. But I had everybody else's. And then I come to church, and they made me a youth group leader. I had everybody else's kids again. I was like, Lord, I can't get away from this. Even now, I've been retired since 2022. I'm still surrounded by kids. And I love every minute of it. Today, I'll be teaching children's church. And I hope I've got dozens of kids back there. As a matter of fact, I ran off a worksheet, Andrew. It's a good one. We're going to be talking about this same lesson, Fishers of Men, so you be ready. All right? And we're going to sing a new song, and I've got a video. Anyway, it's going to be great. And I went ahead on that worksheet, and you know what I did? I ran off 12 worksheets because I'm planning for my dozen. Guys, you got a plan. Have some faith. Golly, I feel the Spirit today. Taxes and a dragnet. Let's get this thing wrapped up in a fish's mouth. Matthew 17, verse 24. And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, doth not your master pay tribute? He saith, yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom of tribute? Of their own children or of strangers? Peter saith unto him, of strangers. Jesus saith unto him, then are the children free. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea, and cast a hook, and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take and give unto them for me and thee. All right, let's translate that into the Stellania White edition. What is going on here? The tax collectors are coming around. They're like, hey, we see you got people in your house. You need to pay taxes for everybody in there. Where's your money? Peter is like, we'll see. And he walks away. Because Peter was just that bold. He'd left them standing there for days. Jesus looked at him and said, hey, what are you doing? Peter tells him, they're here to collect money. And Jesus is like, well, we're not going to offend them. And he tries to teach him with this whole Jesus prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, whom the kings of the earth? He's trying to teach him, listen, you got to pay what's right. You got to pay your taxes, all right? Don't go out here and try to avoid things. Don't go out here and stir up trouble just because you can. If you're going to live by the law of the land, live by the law of the land. Respect them. Don't be offensive to them. If I see a speed limit sign that says 55, Alex, I'm going to do 55. Now, I may push it a little bit to 60, but I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to keep it that way, all right? Alex needed to know that. So, when I see a school zone, Trinity, and it says to do 35, and that's pushing it. That's on the main highway in front of high school right there at South Green. I know where you live. Anyhow, I know where you have to drive to go every day. It's 35. Don't be offensive. So Jesus is like, listen, Peter didn't have that money. He didn't have money to pay for Jesus. Jesus is like, listen, get you a fishing pole, go down there, catch a fish, and the first fish that you catch, open its mouth, because you'll find money in that fish's mouth. That's awesome. Go fish and get a fish. You're going to open its mouth. It'll have money in it. And sure enough, Peter did what was that old word again? Not everybody. You might scare me to death. What's the O word again? Obedience. Get it through your head. I know some of us, it's thicker than others. I'm mainly looking over here in this section. He's pointing at Bryson. Bryson, if I were you, I'd point right back. Anyway, we got these thick heads, but obedience. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Peter, okay, got his fishing pole. He went down there, caught a fish, pulled that fish up, opened its mouth. Sure enough, in the mouth of that fish was the money that Jesus told him would be there. Peter took that money, he went back, he paid the taxes with it. When God tells you to do something, do it. Will it be comfortable? The answer is no. Will it be comfortable? No. All right. Is it always going to be easy? Ah, yes, you're catching on quicker now. All right. I don't have any gold stars. I got some silver ones back there at my desk. You see me after church, I'll give all of you a silver star for today. Last thing I want to read to you, God's foreknowledge. Foreknowledge is that mode of knowledge theologians have attributed to God, it being argued that God knows past, present, and future in one simple and eternal act of cognition. The last section does come out of Matthew chapter 13 about how the kingdom of heaven's like a net cast into the sea. When I go out here, let's say I took a great big old net and I cast it out into the sea off of a boat, out in the ocean. Am I only going to catch tuna? Am I only going to catch maybe swordfish? Am I only going to catch a shark? No, because I'm not down there going, you stay out, I need this one to come in. How should we be in church? Should we separate? Should we say, oh, no, we don't need your kind in here. We only want this. No, we need to realize we are out here to catch everybody. God is not just for me. God is not just for you. God is for everybody. And as examples for Him, we need to treat everybody with God showing through us. Okay? I hope you guys have learned something today. Couple things to take away. First of all, what are you holding on to? There's that one thing. Charles, you don't have to tell me, but what's that one thing that you just don't want to let go of, okay? You just think about that. What's that one thing? Get your thumb off of it. Let God have it. And what's that O word one more time? Obedience. Be obedient to God. Guys, I hope you learned something today. Don't forget, our golden text is Matthew chapter 4, verse 19. I love y'all. I'm so glad that you made it a point to come to Sunday school. Oh, I forgot to give you any announcements. My bad. Next week is homecoming. Woo! We get to eat after church. Also, we have a group coming to sing, the White Singers. I mean, they are white, but their last name is White, is why I'm saying that. That would be Jimmy White, your pastor. I like him. I had a crush on him for years. David White, his brother, and the sister Angela White. Singing will be at 2 o'clock. Please, 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 I am begging you, don't get worn out and too full in the belly to where you can't stay and enjoy that. Angela is driving 2.5 hours to get here. David is driving 2.5 hours to get here. Jimmy White is driving 35 minutes with his wife praying the whole way to get here. All right. So, guys, plan on staying. Eat with us, fellowship with us, worship God with us. It's going to be great. That's next Sunday. We possibly will call a work day next Saturday. I have not been told officially. We do have a ladies' meeting today right after church. And, girls, I need you to get back there quickly because, well, some of us have appointments we have to get to and need it to hurry. All right? Amy, you good? Yes.